The screen flickers. A single line of white text on black. If you hear this, I'm already gone. My name was never Emily Carter. Call me Mara Kane. Same trembling voice, same cracked phone camera, same midnight confession that millions would later dissect. This is the story they tried to bury. 3 months ago, I was just another exhausted nurse in Seattle's understaffed ER. 12-hour shifts, cold coffee, the smell of bleach that never quite leaves your skin. My fiancé, not Ethan Harlow but Julian Voss, was the one steady thing in my life. Tall, quiet, eyes the color of winter rain. He fixed vintage motorcycles in a garage that smelled like gasoline and pine soap. We were saving for a house, talking about kids, the whole ordinary dream. Then came the night, everything tilted. Julian started working late. Not just late, gone. He'd slip in after 3 a.m., shower immediately, fall asleep facing the wall. When I asked, he smiled too wide and said the shop had a big custom order. I wanted to believe him. God, I tried. The first real fracture appeared on a Tuesday. I found a woman's earring in his jacket pocket, white gold, tiny sapphire. Not mine. When I held it up, his face went blank, like someone pulled the plug behind his eyes. Client dropped it off with the bike. He lied, voice flat. That was the moment I should have left. Instead, I swallowed the sting and pretended the lie fit. Days bled into weeks. I started checking his phone when he showered. Deleted messages at 2:17 a.m. A contact saved as T. Just the letter. My stomach learned a new kind of ache. One Thursday, I got off early. Rain hammered the windows of our apartment like it wanted inside. I drove to the garage, meaning to surprise him with takeout. The bay doors were half open. Inside, Julian stood with his back to me, arms around a woman I'd never seen. Red coat, dark hair, laughing into his neck like she belonged there. I dropped the paper bag. Pad ties splattered across the concrete like blood. He turned. For one heartbeat his eyes met mine. Pure panic. Then he whispered something to her and she walked away without looking back. He crossed the garage slowly, like I was a wounded animal that might bolt. Mara. His voice cracked on my name. It's not what you think. But it was. It always is. I ran. Drove until the city lights blurred into watercolor. When I finally stopped, I was parked outside my sister's house, crying so hard I couldn't breathe. She held me while I told her everything. Then she said the sentence that rewired my brain. You deserve the truth, even if it destroys you. So I went hunting. I created a fake profile. New name, new photos, some borrowed strangers' vacation shots. I messaged T. Within minutes she replied. Careless. Arrogant. Within a week we were texting like old friends. Her name was Tessa Langford. She sent selfies in lingerie. Voice notes that made my skin crawl. She thought she was talking to a rich divorcee from Bellevue who wanted to steal Julian for herself. I learned things that hollowed me out. It wasn't an affair. It was a con. Julian and Tessa had done this before, twice that I could prove. They'd target women with decent savings, bleed them dry with promises and fake emergencies, then vanish. The motorcycles? A front. The quiet fiancé act? Academy Award level. I was just the latest mark, only this time he slipped and fell in love for real. That's what he'd claim later, sobbing on my voicemail. It started as a job, Mara. Then it became you. Love as collateral damage. I gathered screenshots, bank records, old police reports from the previous victims who'd been too ashamed to press charges. I built a file thick enough to choke on. Then I did the cruelest thing I've ever done. I invited Tessa to meet, the divorcee, at a hotel bar downtown. She showed up in the same red coat, lips painted victory red. I was already seated in the corner booth wearing a blonde wig and too much makeup. When she slid in across from me, I smiled, raised my phone, and hit record. Julian's waiting upstairs. But first, tell me again how you split the money 50-50 after you ruined someone's life. Her face cycled through confusion, recognition, terror. She bolted. I let her go. I already had everything I needed. That night I uploaded the video, 23 minutes of her bragging, laughing, detailing exactly how they chose targets, how they timed the disappearances. I titled it "My Fiancé and His Partner Scammed Women for Years." Here's the proof. I blurred nothing except the faces of the earlier victims who'd begged for privacy. BY morning, it had 1 million views. Julian tried to run. Police picked him up at Seattle-Tacoma trying to board a flight to Costa Rica under a name that wasn't his. Tessa lawyered up, then flipped when they offered her a deal. She's testifying next month. People keep asking why I didn't just leave quietly. Why I detonated my entire life online for strangers to feast on. Because shame is their weapon. They count on us staying silent, smiling through the pain, protecting the monsters because we're afraid of looking broken. I'm done protecting them. So if you're watching this and your partner flinches when their phone buzzes, if gifts appear you can't explain, if love suddenly feels like a transaction, trust the rot you smell.
They scream.
Burn it down if you have to. You are not crazy. You are not alone. And you deserve the truth, even when it feels like dying. This is Mara Kane, signing off for the last time. If you hear this recording, justice already came.